Greetings, everybody. This is Carrie Mubarak at wooingnature.life, and this is your full moon view for March the 21st, 2019. The full moon view is a monthly guide to lunar best practices for personal and for professional development. So the purpose is to astrologically and energetically connect you to the lunar cycles, which allow you to connect to your inner sanctum, your internal self, your receptive side, and this ultimately gets you in touch with your higher self. So everything that we do at Wooing Nature, including this, gives you a perspective for healing, gives you a perspective for your own personal healing, because we recognize that healing is not a science, it is the intuitive art of wooing nature. And so we're using our intuition as our guide and using our intuition to connect us to nature and get us in sync so that we are living healthy, balanced, optimal, exciting lives, if that's what it is that you're seeking. So this particular video is going to give you a general perspective of the planets and aspects that are in full effect during the full moon, but stay focused, because if you want to get a little deeper, we also offer the full moon view for your element. So if you're earth sign, air sign, fire sign, or water sign, we'll give you those perspectives separately, which also incorporates oracle cards or tarot cards in that reading. Or if you want your personal full moon or new moon reading, depending on the time of the flavor, you can reach me at info@wooingnature.life. So that said, I'm just going to jump right in and let you know what's going on with this moon, this super moon. So it is a super full moon. It's exciting. I'm excited about it. I think that this is the first time I've ever studied and looked at the moon and thought to myself, yeah, it really is a super moon. It really is a powerful energy that's coming forward right now. So this moon, which is in Libra, in 0 degrees of Libra, has a very strong pull of opposites. There's this law of attraction. There's this idea that opposites attract and that those opposites are divine opposites. And what happens when they connect and when they collide is that there is this creation of love, there's creation of harmony, and eventually of beauty, and all of that is kind of tied together. So the first thing I think about is like that feeling of being in love, when everything is joyful, when you're in this kind of natural blend of your two individual cells, and then you get the excitement that comes from that push and that pull. So like there's this surrender or this merging of the self with the other person, and then there's also this effort to separate from one another so that you can see and experience each other's uniqueness. So this energy in general is said to create this beautiful moment. It's like this merging of divine opposites that creates such a harmony on cosmic and spiritual and on your personal levels. But the thing to remember is that you can't capture it. Though we have this feeling and we want to capture it, we want to hold it in time or even possess it, but it's impossible, because at the same time that this energy is very beautiful and very strong and very powerful and has all of these powerful implications, it is transient. So it's not to be held on to. It's not to be to be possessed. It's to be appreciated for what it is and what it does. And what it does is it awakens us to the beauty that's inside of ourselves. So if this is about love and drawing and attracting another, or if this energy of the full moon has you drawing yourself to who you feel like is your divine opposite, just remember that this feeling that you have is transient, and it's naturally transient. It's not there to, like, mess with you or you know make you get your hopes up high and then dash them. It's just the natural law of nature that causes that beautiful energy to also be very transient. So it is related to the butterfly, this transformation of the butterfly. You go from a caterpillar to the butterfly, and when you see this butterfly in flight, it gives you that feeling. It gives you that, that effervescent sense of this fleeting moment of beauty that we would love to be able to capture, like to capture the butterfly in flight would be wonderful, but if to capture it is to destroy it. And so there's this need to really examine within ourselves what is happening outside of you, and then how that then relates to what's happening on the inside. And the way I like to think of it is this: is if you have that moment, if you meet that person, how you feel with them is really showing you the highest self, your highest self, who you are when you are operating in your highest self, and that you don't need to actually seek that outside of yourself, but that person that exists to create that feeling is just reminding you that it exists. It's reminding you of who you are when you are operating at your highest self. All of this, all of this action, this merging of opposites, this collision of opposites, and this pull, the strong pull that creates the love and the beauty and the harmony that we're talking about, is really about knowing and understanding that harmony within yourself. So then there is some other aspects that we want to pay attention to during this time. The moon is in aspect to Mars, which happens to be in the 23rd degree of Taurus, for those of you who are really familiar with astrology. If I'm talking over your head, don't worry about that, because I'm going to explain to you really what's going on. But the moon is enshrined to Mars, and that trine is represented by a triangle, and it really represents a harmonious relationship between the moon and Mars. Now, what Mars is bringing in, so we already talked about what the moon is doing. It's drawing this really positive energy, this really strong pull. But what Mars is doing is it's bringing in the harmonious relationship that is there to conquer or to overcome the lower self. The lower side of the self is that part that I'm reminded of Corinthians, where it talks about love. It vaunteth not itself, it seeks not its own, it is not puffed up. So the lower side of the self would be seeking its own. It would be puffed up. It would be arrogant. It wants to win. It attempts to overpower another person in order to, I don't know, get a leg up or a step up. And it leads to overindulgence. Sometimes you're competing with somebody else, but it's all about self-aggrandizement and about boosting up the ego. But what this Mars energy is bringing in is that, yes, there's this strong attraction, and yes, there's these polar opposites that create this love and beauty, but it's really, again, it's about conquering the lower self and then reaching into a much higher representation of love. So this process leads to ultimately to mastery and the ability to access the power of command, so you can call in your abundance. So if you're in a situation where you're trying to tap into your abundance and it just doesn't seem to be happening, this message goes back to the essence of love and harmony, and it also goes back to how to utilize that. So it's not about self-aggrandizement, it's about how you can then use your energy or use the energy to touch and connect to those outside of you, and to bridge that chasm, so to speak. So the tool for this is self-control and discipline. The greater the degree of exercise of discipline seems to bring good luck, but it's not luck that comes in. It's really just that you're doing this inner work. You're looking beyond the self. You are looking at how your gifts and what you bring to the table, either to your own table or either to the table with another person, if you're talking about a relationship here, you're seeing how all of that ties together. And as you are doing that, and as you begin to diminish the self and then raise up what's beyond you, then you start to see the rewards come in. So some of these are material rewards, as well as the development of certain spiritual qualities in yourself. Again, it's another merging of opposites, but instead of talking about this this attraction between you and a significant other, you're talking about merging of opposites within yourself. So you take in the law of attraction to a much deeper level. Very, very powerful and beautiful. So there's also another trine. Again, the trine is the harmonious relationship. There's another trine between the moon and Pluto, and that brings about reward and recognition for things that you do for community, for people, for humanity, for those people who are outside of yourself. Again, taking away this selfish brand of love and tuning you into a deeper side of self love that then expands and extends you beyond yourself into a much broader perspective and broader reality, which I'll speak about in a little bit too. This is associated with a cosmic law of right relationship between self and community. So when you are doing for community, there are rewards that come as a result. The rewards are not for being arrogant and pompous and, like, I'm so good, I know what I'm doing, I'm the hero in this group. It's not about that. It's about being honored for your vision and being honored for your character. So, and this in turn awakens all of life's possibilities and calls forth fruit and riches that point to abundance. So, again, we're talking about your connection to your abundance here and how to get there. Very powerful lessons, very powerful teachings. So, out of that comes this very practical social and political gain. So, you're able to connect with people, not just for self gain and for your own motivations, but you're connecting with them for some very practical social reasons. It may be to grow something that you're working on. It could be that you have a project that you need support with. And so the merging of opposites now becomes about who you're connecting with outside of you that can help grow this idea that will then be of some benefit to society or to humanity. So all of this is about love. It's about love on all levels. It's about basic attraction between a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, or whatever your preference is. It's about your inner sanctum and the opposites that exist within ourselves and being able to merge those, being able to understand that it's not about me. And what I'm doing is ultimately not about me. It's about how I can bridge and how I can create some measure of wholeness and completeness and health and healing within the community beyond me. It could be with your family. It could be with your community. As I said, it could be on a state level, national level, whatever your reach is. And again, we'll talk about your reach in just a minute. So another focus of these blends of aspects between planets and the moon, what have you, is personal growth. And that personal growth is coming from expanding your territory and broadening your experience. So you are now stretching yourself, beyond the ego, into the broader community. And by broadening that and widening your territory, you are increasing your social relevance equal to where you are spiritually. So wherever you are spiritually is going to let you know socially and politically down here on earth. So you have like the spiritual plane, as above, so below. So your spiritual self and your physical self and the things that are happening on earth with you are in direct correlation with themselves. And this whole idea puts it out there that you get what you deserve. Whatever it is that you have, whatever it is that you are given, is exactly what you need and exactly what you deserve. The thing is that we kind of get caught up with that because we're in this notion that we don't have what we need. We don't have enough. And that what we have is not what we deserve. We deserve so much more. And when you're in that mindset, what happens is that you then gain this, you lose perspective, in essence. You're kind of losing perspective. So again, we're talking about another layer here, you know, looking at your social relevance and it being equivalent to where you are spiritually. It's like God doesn't give you more than what you can bear or what you can sustain or what you can take care of. If you're thinking about leadership and connections and being relevant and being socially connected, which a lot of people like to be, then you look at the level at which you can handle that, because there's responsibility that comes with that. Like the more people that you are sort of in charge of, or the more access you have, or the more individual people that have access to you, there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with that. And so, basically, the Creator gives you what you can bear based on your spiritual development and where you are spiritually. So this is the really interesting thing. So we have those two trines. We have a trine between Mars. We have a trine between the moon and Mars. We have a trine between the moon and, I'm sorry, I just lost it. The moon and Mars, and then the moon and Pluto. But then there's a square between the moon and Jupiter that we want to pay attention to. Now, squares, unlike trines are kind of the harmonious relationship. Squares represent stress, or it represents tension. And so when I looked at where the stress and tension is coming from, it's between the moon and Jupiter. Jupiter is in its natural sign of Sagittarius, so it's all about expansion. It's all about the rewards that come when you're able to blend in to community, to blend into your society without losing your sense of self. Okay? It's also about the becoming one with the self, becoming one with society. It's about your worthiness being rewarded, that there are rewards that come with that. These rewards are not monetary, they're not material. They are measured by nuances and beauty. Again, we're going back to love, beauty, harmony of the moon. And they're also connected to contentment. So if you're trying to measure these rewards that are coming in from this flow of energy by how much money you have, or whether or not you have the things that you think you ought to have but you don't have, then you're going to miss the mark. You're going to miss the point, because it's coming in terms of commitment. It's not commitment, contentment. Are you content? How content do you feel? And by these nuanced beauty, things that make you feel great and make you feel wonderful. So it brings the question, is our worthiness rewarded? Yes, our worthiness is always rewarded. You always get what you deserve, and what you have is offered to you. It comes in signs, it comes in symbols, and it leads you to it. But oftentimes we're missing it because we're locked into the idea that we don't have enough, or we don't have what we deserve. So your abundance is there. If you seek it, it's there. But if you don't see it, if you don't realize it, then you can't claim it. You can't, because you don't even see it yourself. So this is about having faith in abundance, and having the faith in abundance creates the abundance. And right now it's really important overall to have this energy of goodwill. So when I was looking at this tension, I'm like, well, why is there tension here? But then when I thought about it, I'm like, well, yeah, anytime there's a transformation happening, anytime there is a change happening, anytime you have this collision of opposites that creates this beauty and love, and things that we're talking about, in this merging of opposites, and being able to connect to your community and the rewards that come from that, all of that happens by creating and radiating goodwill. So like, where would the tension be? But tension happens because there's change. Anytime there's change, there's going to be some tension. You can expect it. So that's generally what the full moon is bringing in. You can kind of connect to that at whatever level you are on. If you're seeking love, if you're seeking a new relationship, or trying to renew the relationship that you're in, this is great energy for it. But I just have to remind you that it is not about the other person. It is not about the other person. The other person is whatever positives that you get out of that. Remember that life is transient. Remember that that feeling is transient. But it's only there to just kind of quicken and spark that understanding of how you should feel when you are really operating in your highest self. And then the rest is the work that you do within. The rest is going in, using that full moon energy to tap into your inner self, your inner sanctum, and finding out, and discovering that part that is going to ultimately connect you to the highest love that you could probably ever know. So wherever you are in that, if you're, seeking some connections for personal or professional reasons, it's all about self-love at the end of the day. It's all about going in and finding it at the end of the day. And that's what this moon is drawing us to. That's what it's pulling us to. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that is useful to you. Again, if you want your own personal full moon reading, you can reach out to me at info@wooingnature.life, or you can just stay tuned and take a look at your video for your earth, air, fire, or water signs. As always, I hope you guys have a great new moon, full moon, and I hope you have a wonderful life.